What up, people? It's your boy, and I'm back with another video. Just My Opinion podcast. Before we begin today's video, first, I'd like to let you guys know that Just My Opinion podcast episodes will be uploading in the next couple of weeks. Season 2 will begin. I know I told you guys a month ago I was going to be gone for the summer uploading episodes, but I decided, you know what? Let's get it cracking. Let's get back into the driver's seat of Just My Opinion podcast. And I'm just going to start season 2 a month early. So for those out there who've been listening, watching Just My Opinion podcast, hey, some exciting news for you guys. I'm going to try to upload every single day. All right. But nevertheless, I'm the best. Let's get into it. Kevin Durant has grown. Well, Kevin Durant has distanced himself from the saga between the Brooklyn Nets organization and Kyrie Irving. This relationship will be no more in the next few weeks. If you've been living under a rock, let me give you a quick, brief summary. Kyrie Irving is having a hard time getting a max contract fully guaranteed from the Brooklyn Nets organization. Sean Marks was quoted earlier this summer. And if you've been reading the tea leaves from the Brooklyn Nets organization, this has been going on even longer than that. But basically, Sean Marks, told the media members and the fans out there that they're going to go in a different direction. They want a growing, healthy, organic organization. They want people that they can trust. They want people that are committed to the organization. They don't want I guys. They want we guys. And when he said that, it was even crystal clear from my vantage point, because I always knew that the Brooklyn Nets were transitioning from trying to buy a championship by creating a super team. And I told you guys in the in my Just My Opinion episodes that uh RIP to the super teams, because the super teams are DOA. Um, Super teams that were, with the word super team was spawned because of player empowerment. You know, LeBron James echoed player empowerment, and Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, just a handful of people that were trying to create this player empowerment movement. And they birthed a lot of players that believed in it. And one of those guys that they birthed, and I think LeBron James accidentally birthed him, was Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving said, well, if this is going to be the new movement, if this is going to be the new motto, then I want to benefit from player empowerment. And when you basically, fam, when people exploit their power and then they abuse their power and authority, then it just does not work well. Kyrie Irving exercised his player empowerment by leaving the Cleveland Cavaliers because he found out that Mr. Player Empowerment himself, LeBron James, wanted to trade him to upgrade that roster. And at that particular time, they didn't have a lot of pieces that a lot of teams would want. So when Kyrie Irving got wind of that, he orchestrated himself out of the Cleveland Cavaliers organization. He wanted his own team. He felt like he was the man. Went to Cleveland, was handed a, a great team from top to bottom. He had Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, a slew of other up and coming stars, what players, with the Boston Celtics, as well as a solid coach, solid organization, Danny Ainge, and the Celtics, the way how he finagled those draft picks, to not only have players that's already on the floor that can contribute for Kyrie Irving, but he also had a slew of picks that he was just saving like a squirrel in winter like a squirrel saving nuts. When winter comes, well, they'll have a load of nuts paused in a tree. That's what Danny Ainge was doing. He was stockpiling picks. A well-oiled run organization. And Kyrie Irving wanted to be the man, and Kyrie Irving screwed that opportunity up. He was never, he was injury prone, but he was always injury prone, even with the Cleveland Cavaliers. But to make matters even worse, Kyrie Irving was a headache to deal with. Not to mention the fact he loved to miss games. He missed a slew of games with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He missed a slew of games with the Boston Celtics. And he even promised the Boston Celtics faithful, the fan base, that he was intending to sign a long-term contract with the Cleveland Cavaliers. With the Boston Celtics, excuse me. He left the Boston Celtics. He claimed he recruited Kevin Durant, and those guys formed their own super team with Brooklyn. They went to Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant was still injured. He was going to be out for the year anyway. But the Brooklyn Nets signed Kevin Durant. And fun fact here, the Knicks were on the verge of signing Kevin Durant, but they didn't really commit money-wise to Kevin Durant because they wasn't sure how he was going to come back from his injury, which that was a huge mistake for the New York Knickerbockers. If the New York Knickerbockers would have brought everything to the table, they probably could have had Kevin Durant. But the New York Knicks were also were in talks of maybe Kyrie Irving going there. I think the New York Knicks were not that interested in Kyrie Irving. But if they would have signed Kevin Durant and Kevin Durant would have recommended them signing Kyrie Irving, they would have had no problem signing Kyrie Irving. But the New York Knicks, do New York Knicks things, and they went to Brooklyn. Brooklyn was willing to give Kevin Durant whatever he wanted on his contract, and if it meant them signing Kyrie Irving, they had no issue with that. It was a package deal. If Kevin Durant never went to the New York Knicks and never went to the Brooklyn Nets, and Kyrie Irving was trying to find his next team, he would have had a hard, difficult time finding his next team, being the man. He would have to reinvent himself. And he will probably have been under the contract where he have to show and prove that he's really committed to the organization. Now, Kyrie Irving is the same individual that said that basketball is not high on his priority list. And he didn't really have to necessarily say that. You can just utilize his actions as examples. So they went to Brooklyn, and they already had a good team there, a solid team there. They had talent on that team. They also had a coach that took that team to the playoffs without a superstar, or probably took that team, made that team a lot better than what they were capable of being. They didn't have a superstar, but they had a decent record. Kyrie Irving played one season with the coaching staff, as well as those players, and he felt like they could not take them to where they're supposed to be with that unit. I was always under the impression if they would have still kept that ball club and waited for Kevin Durant, I think things would have been a lot more different. And I think possibly Kevin Durant probably could have won a chip with that team. But then a lot of things transpired. The pandemic happened. All right. You know, also the Brooklyn Nets were trying to make Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving happy by respecting their wishes. They felt like they didn't have enough. They felt like they needed something extra for that team to get over the hump. When you got Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, you expect that team to be already over the hump. And they traded a lot of they mortgage and traded their draft picks as well as a lot of their talent to get James Harden. They had James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving. And due to injuries and due to not enough playing time with the three of them, they got beat by the Milwaukee Bucks. James Harden was injured. Kyrie Irving injured himself in the series before that, and Kevin Durant was a one-man show. So the next year, you thought that they was going to repeat and get the chip ultimately, and they took a back. They went from first to worst, sort of say. They had a hard time even making. They had a hard time just getting into the playoff. They had to go in through the play-in tournament, and they got swept by the Boston Celtics with a healthy Kyrie Irving and a healthy Kevin Durant. During that time, Kyrie Irving didn't want to do the mask mandate. Didn't want to take the the injections, the shots, and that led to a lot of controversy. And he played long enough until that policy was no more, and he continued to play for the Brooklyn Nets. He still was able to play with Brooklyn Nets, but only in away games, which I thought was kind of puzzling and odd. So, sorry about that. I had to eat. Now we're at they got swept by the Boston Celtics. I felt like the organization of the Brooklyn Nets seen enough, and then they said, "Okay, we done tried this almost 3 years, and we're not getting what we paid for, which is we should have won a title one of those years." Just think about it, folks. The Milwaukee Bucks won a title 2 years ago. The Golden State Warriors won the title this year without the services of Kevin Durant. That even hurts even further for a lot of people that want to nominate Kevin Durant as the best player in the league. How can you be the best player in the league when you haven't even sniffed a title yet? So now we're at an injunction. We're at a crossroads. Nike dropped Kyrie Irving. They're no longer going to make his signature shoe. And now the Brooklyn Nets organization is not going to give Kyrie Irving a max contract. The Brooklyn Nets are telling Kyrie Irving, if you feel like you're that guy, then bet on yourself. Go into the open market and see if you can get a max contract someplace else. Even though the salary cap went up $10 million, there's only a handful of teams that can give Kyrie Irving a fully max contract. And those teams are not in contention for any playoffs. They're not contending teams. The Detroit Pistons can give Kyrie Irving a max contract. But Kyrie Irving wants to leave a good situation where he can probably negotiate with the Brooklyn Nets organization, and both sides will have to agree to disagree. He may not get a 5-year contract, but he'll probably get a 3-year max contract. That's better than nothing. But Kyrie Irving doesn't want a 3-year contract because on the outside looking in, that's going to make him look bad. That's going to make him look desperate. That's going to make him look like he betted on himself and he lost, as well as it just doesn't present a good situation for Kyrie Irving. You're holding out for a 5-year max year contract only to negotiate a 3-year contract with incentives where if you meet these incentives, you can get extra money. And I quoted, and I've said, and I don't think anyone has said this, Kyrie Irving has become the Antonio Brown of the NBA. Kyrie Irving got opportunity on top of opportunity on top of opportunity to be with two well-run organizations, have played alongside the likings of LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, have played with prestigious organizations such as the Boston Celtics, have played with organizations that was willing to give him the organization, allow him to do whatever he wanted at free will, the Brooklyn Nets. That's all fine and dandy, but if you're not giving them a title, then why are they giving you their organization? People will tolerate you. Talent is a perfect talent. People will put up with a lot of stuff, a lot of your crap, a lot of your ish if you're talented. But the most important ability in talent is availability. And Kyrie Irving hasn't been available for the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are saying to themselves, damn if we do, damn if we don't. If we give him a max contract, that makes him happy. That makes KD happy. But does that truly make us happy? Does that truly make us better? If we max him out and have these two guys together for at least the next 4 years, does that make our roster better, particularly in the East, when everybody in the East is getting better? Miami is getting better, folks. Like it or not, love it or hate it. The Milwaukee Bucks are getting better, folks. Hello? Hold on one second, guys. I forgot to do this. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. I got a message. My fault. So the Brooklyn Nets are looking at this as, yeah, that makes them happy because they're buddies, they're friends. But how that makes the organization better, and does that get us even closer to the chip? The Boston Celtics are better. Right now, if they sign Kyrie Irving, if they just give Kyrie Irving what he wanted, which was a max contract, they give Kyrie Irving the max contract. It's Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and you're just adding pieces here and there to build that roster. Seth Curry is a plus, but look at the landscape just in the East. You got the Boston Celtics, who are in the NBA Finals. They're not going to be a step slower. You got the Miami Heat, which if they just add a piece here and there, they're back into the playoffs and maybe and maybe you can have a deep run in the playoffs. So you got Boston, Miami. You got the Milwaukee Bucks. They're not going anywhere. Even though the Chicago Bulls fizzled out in the second half of the season, if they keep everybody on their roster and run it back, who knows? They could be a contender. I still think the Brooklyn Nets are better than Chicago. Okay. So just them three teams I just listed, the Brooklyn Nets are going to have a hard time beating those teams in a 7-game series. Just those three teams alone in the East. I haven't even talked about the West. I think the Brooklyn Nets are going to have, and I forgot Ben Simmons. Who can forget Ben Simmons? So you got Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, but you got an unknown in Ben Simmons. You don't know what version of a Ben Simmons you're going to get. And even if you guarantee Kyrie Irving a contract, is Kyrie Irving going to be back to his old bag of tricks, which is he may take time off, an unscheduled time off, and don't tell anybody. So there's a lot of unknowns with Kyrie Irving, and there's a whole lot of unknowns with Ben Simmons, and you're going to pair those two guys up with Kevin Durant. On paper, it looks like the teams I just listed that's better than the Brooklyn Nets. They're going to have a hard time beating Brooklyn in a 7-game series on paper. But if you look at this, and if you take in account of what they did last season, you're left scratching your head and you feel kind of worried for the Brooklyn Nets. Sean Marks is feeling the same way. Do we even have enough that we can be kings of the East? There's a lot of question marks in that question. And like I said, we haven't even talked about West. Could the Golden State Warriors repeat? Can the Phoenix Suns run it back? The Dallas Mavericks are, they're definitely going to get better. The Clippers, even when they didn't have Kawhi and Paul George, were contending for a playoff spot. Now they're getting Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. If they keep what they have, can they make a serious run deep into the playoffs, possibly represent in the NBA Finals? The Lakers are the Lakers. The Lakers have their own problems. The Lakers are going to have a hard time beating teams. If the way how they're constructed right now, the Lakers are going to have a hard time beating teams in the West and making a deep run into the playoffs. And you got to ask yourself, do the Boston Celtics have enough to beat those three teams? And as of right now, no, because there are unknowns with Ben Simmons. There are extremely unknowns with Kyrie Irving. And after watching Kevin Durant get handled by Jason Tatum in the Boston Celtics, when you're allowed to when you are allowed to really man up Kevin Durant, he had issues trying to get his shot off with Jason Tatum. Now, everyone is not the same height as Jason Tatum. But what I saw Kevin Durant 2 years ago and what I saw of Kevin Durant this year, obviously Kevin Durant has taken a step off. He's a step slower. Still, He has that mid-range. He still has the touch. That shooting touch is not going anywhere. No matter if Kevin Durant is 45 years old, he'll still be able to shoot that shot. Skill never gets old. Only the player. Kevin Durant can be in this league for a long, long time. Maybe not as a starter, but he can be a contributing factor as he gets older. Because his touch, his scoring touch, his IQ of that is never going to fade. But Sean Marks and the Brooklyn Nets organization is saying, do we even have enough to beat those three teams I listed just for the East? They're going to have a hard time beating any of those three teams in a 7-game series. And then you have to, so now comes word, Sean Marks and the Brooklyn Nets organization is not moving. They're not going to agree to disagree with Kyrie Irving. They're not going to give him what he wants. Even though I feel like Kyrie Irving will have no choice but to go back to the Brooklyn Nets, and whatever offer that they have on the table, that's the offer he's going to have to take. I said that there's probably a 3-year contract that's not fully maxed, that has incentives where it can become a max contract once he meets those incentives. They're going to treat him similar to like Antonio Brown in the NFL. He's going to have to earn his money. I feel like there's a contract on the table for Kyrie, a 3-year contract like that for Kyrie Irving to sign. From what I read, that there's no 3-year contract on the table for Kyrie Irving. The Brooklyn Nets organization is saying to Kyrie Irving, just opt in to that 30-year, that $30 million, 1 year, $30 million, and you become a free agent next season. That's what I'm hearing. That's the whispers and rumors. There is no negotiation with Sean Marks and the Brooklyn Nets as far as is there a 3-year contract for Kyrie Irving? They are done with Kyrie Irving. The best money Kyrie Irving can get right now is to opt in and get that $30 million, that 1 year, $30 million from the Brooklyn Nets that was from his previous contract. And then after next season, he's a free agent and he can sign wherever he wants to sign. Or he can opt out, become a free agent now, and sign a 1 year, $6 million contract with the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I also heard that a lot of people think that, well, all the Brooklyn Nets have to do is just give him what he wants. Just give him the 5-year guaranteed contract and do like a sign and trade. That is not even on the table as well. From what I've read and what I've heard, that option is not available for Kyrie Irving, a sign and trade, unless there was a team that's going to blow the Brooklyn Nets organization away with what type of pieces and players that they're going to get, which frankly, there's not a lot of teams out there, unless if he wants to go to the Lakers, the only way that's going to work for the Brooklyn Nets in order to do a sign and trade, if they get LeBron James. I'm hearing Anthony Davis is just not good enough. They're saying, yeah, we'll get the commitment from Anthony Davis, but he's more injury prone than Kyrie Irving. From what I've heard, they don't even want Anthony Davis. It has to be a signature player or a superstar if they're going to do a sign and trade. Now, I'm just saying this is hypothetical. Now, I'm not saying that this is true. If Jason Tatum was available for the Brooklyn Nets, and I'm not saying they need Jason Tatum because they got Kevin Durant, okay? But it's got to be a player like that in order for them to do a sign and trade. A young, uh, that has plenty of potential, that has plenty years ahead of them, that they want to a Zion Williams. That's why you keep hearing the Zion Williams trade. That's what I'm hearing. Kevin Durant is stuck like Chuck. I mean, Kyrie Irving is stuck like Chuck. It's hard to negotiate with someone that doesn't want to negotiate with you. They're not going to make your job any easier. They want him to go out into the open market and get his money. I also heard the only reason why he was even they was interested in Kyrie Irving in the first place was because of Kevin Durant. Now, you've been hearing from Woj and everybody else that there's a growing rumor out there that Kevin Durant is not happy and he's demanding a trade. And I told you guys in previous live streams, and as well as the video that I haven't uploaded yet, I feel like when you got both of these narratives floating out there, it makes that makes Kyrie Irving's deal even more difficult for him to do a signing trade, because now teams are patiently waiting for for Kevin Durant to go on social media or make an announcement that he's done with the Brooklyn Nets. There are teams that will move heaven and hell for Kevin Durant. And that makes it hard for Kyrie Irving to find a suitor for him when all the teams are basically saying, we'll just this rumor about Kevin Durant not happy and wanting to trade. Now organizations are waiting to see if that's true. And that's even hurting Kyrie Irving's chances as far as him getting signed someplace else. I told you guys, in actuality, these two guys' stories and narratives is making it hard for Kyrie Irving to find a team when there's teams out there that's thinking that there's a possibility we can bump Kyrie Irving. There's a possibility we can get Kevin Durant if Kevin Durant's interested and wants to get up out of Brooklyn, and if Sean Marks and the Brooklyn Nets organization is willing to trade Kevin Durant to wherever, because silence speaks in volume. And that's what this article is about. You know, Kevin Durant has been very quiet. He hasn't taken a position on either side. That's something that a lot of people are not looking into. He's not being very supportive to Kyrie Irving or the Brooklyn Nets organization. He's sort of in the middle. And that speaks in volumes. A lot of people are thinking, well, maybe Kevin Durant wants to leave. So why are we settling for Kyrie Irving when we can get Kevin Durant? So yeah, this thing it has went from bad to worse for Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, it's not looking good for Kyrie Irving. And look, it's until this probably will not be settled until the final hour. And I think it's this week, by the way, on the deadline with Kyrie Irving to decide whether or not he's going to opt in and sign up for that 1 year, $30 million contract, or if he's going to opt out and become a free agent. It's going to go to the waiting hours. And from what I'm hearing, the Brooklyn Nets organization is not going to make Kyrie Irving's job any more easier. They're not exercising no signing trades because the players that they want, uh, those teams want to keep those players and add a Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving's stock is not that significant where they're willing to trade their superstar for Kyrie Irving because of look at the pattern of behavior of Kyrie Irving. This guy is injury prone, one, and two, will just with a drop of a dime go on hiatus in the middle of the season. It's just looking bad. It went from bad to extremely worse. And there's no situation where Kyrie Irving is going to win from this. Unfortunately, Kyrie Irving is going to have to sign into that 1 year, $30 million from his previous contract and bet on himself next year. That means he's going to be totally committed. If he do miss games, it's going to be because of injury, because he has to show and prove what his value is, what his value is to the other teams in the NBA. Similar to what Nike said when they dropped him, you're going to have to show and prove that you are really serious about this. Kyrie Irving wants to be a part-time player but wants max money. And if the Brooklyn Nets are shown that they were the winners of this, this sets a huge precedence of the other ball clubs with similar players like this, which is not a lot of similar players like Kyrie Irving in the first place. So, yeah, that's all I got, folks. Guys, tell me what you think. Rate, comment, subscribe. This is going to be a wild ride. I can't wait till the end of it. I will talk to you guys later. Deuces.